What's going on YouTube? It's Ben, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to overcome client objections. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for checking out another one of my videos. I talk a lot about creating your own recruiting agency, business, entrepreneurship, pretty much everything in between. If you like that kind of stuff, definitely take a second and smash that red subscribe button. Otherwise, pay attention and let's get right into this video. One of the most annoying things in business is getting objections from clients. We all get it. Everyone has this happen to them. It's a constant. Everywhere you go, no matter what you're trying to sell, service, product, whatever, it's everywhere, every single time. But what you might not have thought about is the fact that it's a totally natural reaction. It's something that I do, it's something that you do, it's something that everyone does. We are naturally hardwired to literally object to everything. So if there's something that is brand new and comes into our life, it's like a purchase, if it's a move, if it's anything, we naturally object to it because we think that we have to sit and decide or ponder or analyze or do whatever we have to do to basically make our next move. Usually all objections are ultimately just really fake, non-existent, not real, not valid objections from clients. And the sooner you understand that, you'll have an entirely new perspective on how you can overcome objections, and we're going to talk about that right now. So exactly like I just said, objections are not real. They're actually completely fake. If your pitch to me makes sense, and it should make sense if you do it properly, then there should be absolutely no logical reason why I would be able to object to it. Like, I can't object to someone that offers me $500 and wants $50 in return. I can't object to something where I get more value out of something that I pay for. It just doesn't work that way. And so in recruiting, when we work with clients, oftentimes we're giving them way more value than what we're actually asking for monetarily. And we just have to play a little bit of a logic and mathematics game with them to get them to understand that. So let's use something that's super common. Let's say you pitch a client your services and they just say, nah, that's too expensive for us. This is an objection where you sort of need to become a mathematical ninja, but it's super, super easy, I promise you, and I'll show you exactly how. For example purposes, let's just say that this position you're trying to fill for your client is a driver. So the first piece of information that we need is exactly how much money the client is losing per day by not having that driver role filled. It could be $10,000 a day, it could be $50,000 a day. It really doesn't matter, it's actually arbitrary. It just matters that they're losing revenue per day, and we need to know kind of what that is so that we can make sense of things. So remind them that they're losing, let's say $10,000 in production value or delivery value per day. And furthermore, what you need to do is then couple that with the fact that your fee is either going to be somewhere just under what they're losing or maybe exactly what they're losing per day. And so no matter what they do, your value proposition makes perfect sense and their objection is completely unreasonable. All right, so let's do another one. Sometimes clients tell me that we have an internal recruiting team that does all of our recruiting. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I actually really like this objection because it actually exposes a ton of weakness in their organization and just makes you, as an outside potential vendor, look like a total knight in shining armor to come to their aid and help them out. Now, to actually overcome this objection, you simply need to start out by asking the client how long that position has been open and vacant. And chances are it's probably been open for quite a while. The reason I say that is because they're talking to you, they're entertaining you. Even though they have an internal recruiting team, quote unquote, they're talking to you and they're actually entertaining the concept of utilizing you for your services. So chances are very likely that that role has been open for 30 days or more. Now, chances are that if they have an internal recruiting team and that they have not filled this role within 30 days or so, which we're going to make assumptions on that, chances are very likely that that internal recruiting team is working on a myriad of roles for that company. So they're probably working on maybe, I don't know, 50 job recs at one given time. If it's a large enough company, maybe it's 15 or 20, but chances are that they're not doing well. They're not producing. They're not actually getting candidates in the door, which is a very common theme with internal recruiting teams. Not to bash corporate recruiters out there, but any of you watching, a lot of the times the productivity is very, very low, and I have personally been able to produce more candidates for a sales company I worked at and referrals than the internal recruiting team in 1 year. So as long as your fee for services is not exorbitantly large, or it's not anything that's going to be over and above and beyond what they're paying their internal recruiting team, you have a really, really good shot of being able to come in, take care of the role, and actually get it done before the internal recruiting team can. And I say that also because you're highly motivated. They are a 9-to-5er that has benefits, that's working for the company, and you're someone who's independent as an agency or a firm or an independent recruiter that's working on commission, essentially, on contingent. So you don't get paid unless you actually find the person. So what kind of motivation would you have to make the $10,000 or $15,000 to place that role rather than the 9-to-5 person who probably does not have anywhere near as aggressive of a commission structure in order to fill that role? All right, let's go into another one, which is also very interesting. We don't use internal recruiters. We don't use agency recruiters. We don't use recruiters at all. So to be really, really direct on this is a super easy objection to hop over, because not only do you use the number one thing I mentioned, which is how much is this costing you to keep this position vacant per day, you also ask them how they're ever going to fill the role in the first place. I mean, they're not using agency recruiters, they're not using internal recruiters, they're not using anything else, they're not doing anything, and there's probably giving you some excuse like we have our own network, or we use word of mouth, or maybe we're going to hire someone internally and promote them, blah, 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 whatever. It's just simply all fake. It's all just complete BS. We all know it's fluff. We all know they're not going to get that job filled the way they want it filled, as quickly as they want it filled, or any of that. And they need to use an agency recruiter to do it, and that's the best way to go about it. We all know this. It's just a matter of how we demonstrate and convey this to them so that we can overcome their objection and get the business. In this type of scenario, you really just need to tack on the fact that it's costing them XYZ per day for them to keep that role vacant. Then you also need to add and explain and demonstrate to them that it is your sole purpose, your sole job to fill that particular role for them. And explain that to them in a way that's so compelling and with conviction that they understand it, and they absolutely cannot object to that. There's no objection when you can explain to someone, I'm going to fill this role for you, and it's going to be more valuable than what you're going to pay me for to do it. All right, so as it pertains to objections, in summary, you really just need to make sure that you're conveying some sort of ROI. Clients always want to understand that they're getting something more valuable than what they're paying for. I mean, we all want to get something more valuable than what we're actually paying out for it in the first place. That's how everything works. So make sure you convey some sort of ROI element to your pitch. That way you can jump right over the objections without having any trouble whatsoever. Also, just know that objections are going to come. They're going to happen every single time. And just know that they're fake. Know that they're not real. They can be overcome by logic every single time. And just know that you're going to have to deal with them in that fashion. And when you know that, your entire perspective will change and you'll be ready for it. You should make sure that you're very proactive when you're handling objections. This is probably the most important part in closing a recruiting deal with a client. You should poke, prod, ask questions, get them talking, have a conversation, really get to the heart of what this objection is. The more questions you've asked, I've found that people will start to reveal themselves and they'll really get down to the heart of it. And at the end of the day, you're going to find out that they don't actually have a real objection, and you'll get to that conclusion, they'll get to that conclusion, and hopefully you'll be able to ink a deal. Another one is to never, ever, ever believe that the client actually doesn't want to do business with you. They do want to do business with you. They want to fill their roles. They're just simply giving you a knee-jerk reaction that's totally natural, and it's totally something that everyone does. Know that this client is not pushing you off in any personal manner. They're simply just going with their logical brain, their croc brain as they call it, and they're simply objecting because they have to. That's how they biologically work. At the end of the day, you can't win over every single client. So there are going to be clients that just simply won't work with you, and you can't overcome their objections because they won't let you. And in that scenario, that's totally fine. You can't win them all, as they say. And so what you should do is just check in with them. Just make sure that you've answered all their questions. You've provided as much value as you can. You've explained yourself fully so that in case they want to work with you in a couple days, couple weeks, or a couple months even maybe, they might call you back and work with you. And this stuff goes a long, long way, because if you've totally explained yourself, you've gone the extra mile to make sure that they have all the information they need from you, about what you can do for them, there's likelihood that they're going to be calling you back. So just make sure you close it out using those concepts. That, my friends, is essentially handling objections in recruiting 101. If you enjoyed this video, guys, please smash that like button down below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Hit that alert button so you know every single time I come out with a new video, which is pretty much daily. So I will be catching you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a great night.